Formerly Football Picks Podcast. I'm Nesson.com's Mike Cole, joined once again as always by Ricky Doyle. Ricky, how are you?
Doing pretty good, Mike. How are you doing? Fresh off the golf course.
Yeah.
Look spry.
It was I wear a bunch of hats, quite literally. Now wearing a hat.
Yeah.
It was started the day playing golf for work, so that's always a good way to go. And now I get to come here and talk to you about
What a day.
various
What a lineup.
random things.
Yeah.
But that's that's the thing with one good day is that there's multiple bad ones lurking behind it to come bring you crashing down. So
I don't think
fully looking forward to the rest of the week. So as I mentioned off the top, we are generally a football podcast, or have been in the past. I don't think we're really going to do any football this week, as we're here to celebrate the start of summer.
This is the summer kickoff.
This is This is again with our schedule the way it is, our recording schedule. It feels like we've since this relaunch, we have been like 3 days behind everything. So it is keeping with that we are 3 days behind Memorial Day or thereabouts. But that is the unofficial start of summer, if you will. Did you do anything exciting for the Memorial Day weekend? How did you kick off the unofficial start of summer?
Well, so I was over at Fenway on Sunday, so that was nice.
Sunday was the
There was the benches cleared.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So
we might get into that a little bit later.
and excellent weather. If you want to start with the weather talk.
Yeah, obviously.
Around here. So yeah, no, it was nice.
I was going to go right into weather because on Monday it was a little iffy. Although I played golf on Monday too, and it held off for the most part. But it feels like we've been on a pretty tough run here the last few years of garbage Memorial Day weather. So it was a nice change of pace for most of the weekend.
Yep.
Feels like the summer.
Sure does.
You know what? This is something as I get older, I don't take that for granted either. I am like, let's go. Like I am trying to live in the moment, trying to seize every day of summer because I know how miserable February and January and really March even it can be.
We've had this conversation on the previous season.
This is literally just a weather podcast.
But I feel like everything's been pushed back a month in recent years.
Yes.
So like now,
this is spring. This is like peak spring right here, even though we're saying it's the start of summer.
Yeah, we're talking out of both sides of our mouths, but
I mean, you could argue that spring doesn't exist anymore.
That's true. Yeah, I would make that argument.
Okay.
Sure. Yes, I would.
There's early winter, which is like December is early winter because it's not even really winter anymore.
Yep.
Then you have midwinter, January, February. Then you have late winter, which is basically March until it's like this outside.
Yeah. Next thing you know, you're at the beach.
Yeah.
So, what are you looking forward to this summer? What do you get like sports-wise?
Sports-wise.
Or not sports-wise. What the hell do I care? Could be
No,
about anything, really.
a lot of golf. This is now a golf podcast too. I'm trying to play more golf, which is easier said than done when you have a 3-year-old. I didn't play a single round of golf last summer. So
wow.
I played the Senior Open, U.S. Senior Open Media Day at Newport Country Club, one of the oldest, most prestigious golf courses in the entire world last week.
Yeah. It's been a hell of a couple weeks for
It
you.
was the first time I played a round of golf in like a year and a half.
I got to figure out how the hell I get out of this office.
Teach
me our ways, Mike.
So, I mean, hey,
some of us got to be back here.
You got to be playing.
Grinding away head down.
I know. Well, you got to play 4 steps ahead. I've been playing on this thing for a while. No, but I am, seriously, I'm looking forward to the U.S. Senior Open down in Newport. I'll probably go get down there for a couple days in late June. That's a golf tournament that I'm looking forward to. Summer, sports-wise, or the Olympics, I guess, I don't really care.
I was just going to say, let me float that by you. I know maybe we'll get into that at some point
here
in the next few weeks.
I really hope not.
I'm not like
maybe somebody's gonna have to force us to talk about it.
But maybe we'll have our own Olympic games or
we're
something.
So
like
gonna
we
just do. You and I are gonna talk about like high lie or something.
Yeah, well, we can make some space in here. We can test our own physical acumen.
That's fair.
So you're not an Olympics guy.
Hate it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I like the Winter Olympics.
Hate's probably not the right word because you're
not fired up for breakdancing
so
this year.
Like I'm like wherever ambivalent goes right up to doesn't dislike because I'm heavy ambivalence. That's just kind of where I'm at. I just it doesn't do anything for me. I think it's a kind of a tradition of a bygone era. I don't like. You know what I mean? There's so much sports. I can watch all of these things if I really want to. Like it's kind of like interleague play in baseball. Where it was,
the novelty is worn off. You can.
Everything's so accessible now. I could watch the track and
There's
field
literally
worlds or whatever.
networks devoted to each
right.
of these individual
Yeah.
sports. And so, it's not, or you'll see viral clips and things like that of these. So it's not like your one chance to see, I don't know, badminton. Is that even still a sport?
Yeah, or
that's the thing too. I gotta look at the sports list. I don't even know what's still in there.
And I mean, again, this is not a whatever. If I had to choose one of the Olympics too, I would choose the winter ones. I just maybe because it's like there's fewer things to do, so like it's a more natural draw on a cold winter night than like in the summer where I'd rather.
But there's also like some of the sports are cool.
Well, that was gonna be the other thing,
like flying down a track at that speed, or I mean, the Winter Olympics, you have a sport where you cross country ski and then you shoot guns.
Yeah, I don't. Again,
like,
I get it.
Sign me up.
I don't. I just like the sports
better than running.
I just like the sports I like, and they're really not in there. And I'll give hockey and basketball a cursory glance, but like, again, you look at the Summer Olympics. It's gymnastics, it's swimming, and track and field. None of that does anything for me.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
You
I'm
have
not gonna,
a pool. You don't.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't need the additional swimming reps.
Yeah. Like handball, maybe is that still one?
That's
Water
thing,
polo, I watch every once in a while. Stuff like that. If you put a net on the field, I'm kind of in.
Yes.
So soccer, but like that's the thing
I
too.
think that's
like,
the thing. It's got to have a net or a ball.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's probably a good
you need
way
a prop. Somebody give me some sort of prop, and then we'll go from there.
And again, so the sports that have the props, not the prop bets, those sports have they all have better versions of them outside of the Olympics. Like soccer, who cares? Like I guess whatever. But the World Cup is what it is. Or
and there's no
the
baseball or softball this year. But
there's not.
No,
that
so
stinks.
But even when there was, like you have the World Baseball Classic.
Yeah,
is more or less replaced
the basketball.
Olympic baseball.
The basketball has gotten better as the gap's been tightened,
sure.
But it's not. I'd rather watch the NBA Finals.
Yeah, but to your point about like soccer, you got the World Cup right around the corner in 2 years. So
Ricky, I'm just living day to day.
Hey,
what are you looking forward to this summer? Speaking of looking at
the Olympics, no, honestly, I know we're not doing it this week. I can't wait to talk football again. Like, I don't know where we're gonna have to figure out a easy way to get in there, training camp, things like that. But I'm looking forward to that. But what else I'm looking forward to is I'm gonna be heading up to Loudon for NASCAR next month. So, but yeah, I think most of my activities this summer are gonna be non-sports related.
A lot of
beach time.
Not to be. I guess just looking a gift horse in the mouth. Like, as we have a cool job, relatively speaking, I kind of look at the summer as a chance to not pay attention to sports a little bit too.
Yeah.
I think that's the byproduct of like a 10-month-a-year football season, is that it feels like there's very few times to catch your breath. And like working where we do, there's even fewer opportunities to catch your breath, because like once the football season's over, it's like we are right into what we call crossover season. And like with how good that the Bruins have been. And really, I mean, the Celtics, they don't mean as much to our company, but like it's still something we all have to cover. And there's no really place to take a breath until like July. And so I'm looking forward to not watching a ton of sports.
What have you thought of the NBA playoffs and NHL playoffs so far?
It sounds like
how would you grade them? You know what I mean? Like from an entertainment value standpoint,
it sounds like they're going really well.
Yeah. So you've been so fixated on the golf that you haven't paid much attention.
I know I probably shouldn't admit this, but it's just like maybe it's a brain power thing. I just watch golf and then I watch football and I catch stuff in the middle. Like the summer I do watch a ton of baseball because it's just rhythmic. Like that's my thing. No, but I pay less and less attention as the local teams get eliminated. So I thought. I wish the Bruins-Panthers series could have gone like 9 or 11 games, because I thought that thing was really starting to heat up. What I've seen of Panthers-Rangers has been pretty good. Like there's some hate there. I enjoy that. The Western Conference that one's like that. I got to go to bed. And the NBA has been underwhelming. I think there's no other way to put it. Like the Celtics have been a wagon, to their credit. What are they, 12-2 in the playoffs so far? And like we were we were ready to come in here doing a full NBA Finals preview, assuming the Mavs pulled off their sweep, which they didn't. But it sounds like we're looking at like 10 days in between basketball games here. So I think that's a sign right there that things haven't been super competitive.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. Like if I'm grading it, I'm probably giving it like a C-.
Oh yeah, you wanted a grade.
I don't know. Like it's
C- for the NBA and a B for the NHL.
Well, because the NBA, it's not only has it been, to your point, just relatively uneventful, but the star power isn't even there. Like
That's
there's
a problem
so many
too.
guys that have been out hurt, which I mean, it's kind of they're both kind of the same thing. I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, you're getting a watered down version of every single team. So it's just like, how are you supposed to get up for that? There's no juice.
This is a take on which I've been ruminating the last couple of days, and I had no outlet to express it. So I'm glad that we're now doing this.
Thank God.
I probably said some things 5-6 years ago about the NBA Finals and the playoffs being a little fatigued with the Warriors and a little fatigued with LeBron.
God, I'd do
Bring
anything.
me back right now.
Yeah.
It's again, everything I look at is through my own lenses. I'm very self-centered, but like the finals always kind of falls around when I'm on vacation. And so I'm like, I have vivid memories of like that block and just being like feet up on the couch. And the vacation
like a Sunday
rental.
night,
yeah,
I think.
Right.
You know,
like
remember the weather, obviously.
I still remember sitting down for a late Sunday night dinner and having the game on at the table on like my phone. Like I just, and like, I think the star power, especially in a sport like basketball and maybe to a lesser extent football, is not underrated because we all acknowledge it. But when it's not there, you see how much of a difference it makes. And I think the NBA is kind of in a weird spot right now where like 4 years from now, the idea of the Celtics, assuming that they still have Tatum and Brown and whoever else going up against like the Timberwolves with the core that they have, could be that.
Yeah.
But it still feels early, and without that star power, it's tough. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean the other part of it too is like the amount of player movement in the NBA. It's like sometimes you're like, I forget which team this guy plays
Well,
for.
that's a big reason I'm out on college sports for the most part too. It's like it's just hard to
cultivate that attachment
continuity.
To all these teams. And then with the NHL, it's like the one thing that's kind of lacking for me. It's we're aesthetic guys, right?
Yes.
Like
I know
wish there was more of like a old school original six sort of
That's
flair
the thing,
in there.
like,
It's hard for me to get up for Dallas in the Western Conference Finals, as good as they might be. It's just like
if they contracted 10 teams in the NHL, I'd be not happy. But I would be okay.
The idea
with
of
it.
Florida, Dallas, in the Stanley
That's the
Cup
thing, right?
is like terrifying.
But I was actually thinking this the other day. The Rangers Oilers, now we're kind of talking.
You get there.
Like
I could get there. Yeah,
that feels.
You get
like,
star power, on both sides, and also just like
because
you got
juxtaposition
a Canadian
the
team,
markets.
and
Yeah.
That's what we need. Need that, but
juxtaposition of markets.
No, that particular Stanley Cup Final.
Commodities, futures. This is now a banking and trading podcast.
It could be. I wouldn't rule that
So,
out.
you want to get into the Celtics?
Yeah, I think that's a good place to. I'd say start, but we're kind of 15 minutes into this thing with
we are just
rambling, incoherent
stream
thoughts on
of
summer and the like.
consciousness. Celtics going to the NBA Finals, sweeping the Pacers. I did look pretty prescient on Saturday night. I tweeted, I said, I'm going to bed. Congratulations to the Celtics on their comeback. And they came back and won. And they did it to a much lesser extent on Monday night in Game 4 to pull off the sweep. What do you take out of that series? I don't think there's a whole lot to really even sink your teeth into. We're still waiting to see who they play in the finals, but like, I can't. Maybe we had this conversation last week. I keep oscillating between whether I want to give them credit for just one of the most dominant performances I've ever seen, or just be like, I don't know what to take from this, because to their credit, they've I was going to say something bad. Oh man, that was close. To their credit, they have run through their opposition.
Yeah.
But like, there have been injuries. You can't deny that. I understand you play who's in front of you, and they've done it in a very dominant fashion. I just don't know what I'm supposed to take from that. Maybe they are generationally good.
Can't two things be true? That this is the easiest path ever to the NBA Finals, at least in modern history, whatever,
Sure.
like, however long this format has been in place, and that they also are one of the best teams that we've seen in recent memory.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, so like I know everybody kind of wants to dump on the path now. It's like I get it, but if they win the finals this year, in 10 years, are we going to really, really remember how soft it's been?
Is it poor take making for me to say I agree with that part of it, but until that happens, I can nitpick, for lack of a better term? Because I do agree. If they go on and win the title, whether it's in 4 games or it's in 7 games or anything in between, it doesn't matter. Flags fly forever. They have been the best team all season long, so it is a fitting achievement for them. So, like, I agree, 100%.
Yeah.
Like, down the road, we're not going to care or even mention it. So, I do. Maybe I'm speaking out of both sides of my mouth, but it's...
I mean, I just, you look back at, I think it was in the Ringer, they basically had a breakdown of the easiest paths to the NBA Finals, and... I mean, you could go back to like the 1980s Lakers and some of their paths to the finals that, based on team record and all that. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, you look at, if you want to go back to like the 50s and 60s, like the teams that Bill Russell was beating. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like they had, I think, a bye until the conference finals and they beat some sub 500 team and boom, they're in the finals. Yeah. It's like, all right, we could probably nitpick a lot of these teams over the course of history. And the other thing is, it's like, I honestly don't think that if you could have all of these teams at full strength, I don't think it would make a difference. I think the Celtics would still be very much in there. They were good wire to wire. The roster backs it up. This is this isn't a fluky thing. It's been, they've been in the conference finals or NBA finals for the better part of a decade now. Like, it's just, it feels legit.
I just don't feel as strong making some of the points that you're making based on like if other teams are full strength, because I think the ability to be full strength and the ability to have all guns blazing is the sort of thing that tests anyone, but especially has tested them, and like they have failed that test from time to time. So I guess it's hard to hold it against them without knowing whether it would have happened. But like, I just think, what Jimmy Butler is a guy who has given them fits in the past and is a guy who kind of flexes his muscles on them. That there is a established path of that. Like they got to the finals a couple of years ago and they got punked by a better veteran-laden team. So like they haven't had to answer those questions necessarily. Sure. So I think that's where I'm a little bit unsure of what I'm looking at relative to the past, because there are things like that that are just aren't even applicable compared to past years.
Yeah, I think I'm just more focused on like the tangible than the intangible. Like with the Celtics, it's the questions are like, can they get over the hump?
That's my thing.
Everything, do they have that championship DNA?
Everything to which I'm referring is intangible. Yeah, I understand.
I just feel like this team is so much better than the other iterations that they've had.
That part I agree. Now I'm just talking out of every side. I'm running out of sides of my mouth to talk out of. But I technically agree with that. But like I do think it comes back to those two guys at the top, right?
Sure.
But the brilliance or the genius with the roster construction here, and we saw this especially, and that I guess we did learn something from the Indy series. This
is what we do. We just stumble into it.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, this is what happens when you don't do enough prep, I guess. The Drew Holiday of it all. Like, it didn't matter if, like, those guys, both of those guys could go quiet, and, like, Drew Holiday is so just solid that he's going to make up for that. And, like, just
Drew Holiday gives you everything Marcus Smart gave you without the Marcus Smart aspect of it.
Like, and so that raises the floor considerably.
Yeah.
And maybe he doesn't raise the ceiling as much as Marcus Smart does. I would argue maybe he does, honestly.
Oh, absolutely does, yeah.
And like Derek White is better than he was last year. He's better than he was the year before. But like he's gotten better every single year he's been here. So and then Porzingis just lingering as well. So yeah, they have that those concerns that I was talking about, and not having seen those play out aren't as
right. So
pertinent this time because they have so much more depth.
In previous years, if Jason Tatum had an off night or Jaylen Brown had an off night, that had the potential to be backbreaking.
Or if both of them did, like in the finals against Golden State.
Now, like, they could both have an off night, and you could still be all right. Like, that is the level of, how deep they, not only just deep from like a starting lineup perspective, but like just meaningfully deep. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like Derek White could go off for 35 on a given night, or to your point, Holiday, or like when Porzingis comes back. Like you have guys that these are legit ones and twos on a lot of teams.
Yep.
Maybe not ones, but
No,
like, but like it's a level of talent that is unlike what you see on these other teams where they have one or two stars, and you better hope they play like stars, otherwise you're going to be in some trouble.
Or they don't get hurt.
Yeah.
But that was my thing with. I was thinking that the other day. I was walking the dog, thinking of Drew Holiday, as one does, and he would be like easily the second best player on the Pacers.
Yeah,
on a healthy Pacers team, the best without Halliburton. Same thing. You go back round one without Butler, he's probably the best player on the Heat. And then who they play in between, I already forget.
Cleveland.
I mean, yeah,
Who had half their team gone for
so
last
like
two
that's
games of that series.
And he's like their third best active player, but if Porzingis is healthy, he's probably their fourth best, maybe fifth best. I don't know if we can debate that until we're blue in the face. I'd rather not. So yeah, I think this team is as deep as it's been. I think Brad Stevens has done just the guy doesn't miss. It's just they are so well positioned. Looking ahead, I think the depth thing is going to play a factor in the finals, no matter who they play. Probably Dallas.
Yeah,
but like they have depth in terms of just numbers, and they also have depth in terms of what they can do. I guess maybe depth and versatility are the same thing. Where
versatility is the key word for me. Like,
I think Tatum or Brown could guard Luka. I think Holiday maybe like that. So they have three guys, so they don't need to go 48 minutes with one guy who's like, hey, your job tonight is to stop Luka. Don't worry about the other end. Yeah. They can start a game with Jaylen Brown on him, and then when they get late in the game, if they want to put Tatum, so it's like there's so many options.
Yeah, they're obviously super talented, and at the same time, they accentuate each other's strengths and they mask their weaknesses.
Right.
Like it just all is very cohesive. Whereas I don't know if that was necessarily the case in years past. Like I feel like we're past like the Tatum Brown can they coexist thing. Like they've been together for so long now. Like I don't have that.
I just don't think it. Yeah, it probably
I don't have those doubts.
It probably doesn't matter either.
Yeah, like it just
how
all
often
seems to work now.
How is it possible for them to be both at their peak in a single game? Like how often does that happen though? Or is that just impossible when you have two guys with those sorts of skill sets?
Probably, yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. It's something I'm
but
curious.
It's amazing how it can vary within a game. Like, you have like that. What was that, game 2 or game 3 where Tatum scores 4 points in the first half, and you're kind of writing this off as like, all right, Tatum, this is not his night, and then he goes off in overtime and he finishes with like 36 points. It's almost like one guy can buy some time for the other guy to get it going.
Yeah,
to then step up and crunch
it's pretty
time.
Crazy too to have like one of the 5 best players in the NBA and sweep a series and have another guy win the MVP for the series.
Yeah,
like there's so many different ways you can break it down.
Just real quick from like an odds standpoint.
Yeah, I was just about to pull it up.
So, I mean, obviously, given the situation, it looks like it's going to be Dallas.
Yeah.
But regardless, DraftKings does have series winner look aheads, and it doesn't matter who the Celtics play. Like the odds are the same. The Celtics are let's see, minus 225, Dallas plus 185, or Minnesota plus 185, which feels like they should be longer odds.
Yeah, right? I don't know. That's
but yeah, I like so like my question, I guess, from a Celtics standpoint is how do they not win? Like what is their fatal flaw or whatever you want to call it?
I don't think they have one. Period. I think it's a combination of a few things. So is that kind of like cheating the question? Is that I think it's
a little bit, but that's all right.
3
I'm not gonna hold it against you.
3 life-threatening flaws add up to one fatal flaw, maybe. I still have questions about Missoula. Maybe that's a thing, but like, is Jason Kidd that much better of a coach than he is?
Yeah,
I don't know.
I
also think say something nice about Joe Mazzulla. He's out-coached his opposition to this point. Like Rick Carlisle took a dump in his pants in the Eastern Conference Finals, but like, hey man, just when you have a talented roster like that, you got to make the right decisions at the right time, and otherwise just stay out of the way. Like so maybe he just completely porks it. Tied to that, the proclivity to shoot 3-pointers at an ungodly rate, despite the fact they have guys who can get their own shot closer to the rim. That's a Missoula thing. So these things are kind of intertwined where he just is like, let's shoot a ton of threes because the numbers say that it's going to back us up. Over the course of 82 games, you're going to beat the piss out of teams, and you're going to be, you're going to go on and win 65 games or whatever. 7-game series, if they don't fall 3 out of 4 nights, all of a sudden you got some problems, right? So maybe the threes go cold. We've seen them. That's been there. In those 2 losses, I think they probably shot miserably and just kind of fell into buzz sauce. And then the other thing was like just the intangible stuff. And I guess maybe that all kind of ties it together where it's like going up against a team like Dallas who has 2 late-game assassins, I could see Kyrie and Luka stealing a game or 2 late because they just go nuts. Where I still have some questions about what the Celtics do late there in a tight game, where it's like, going back to the finals against Golden State, we saw problems. Tatum was not a good player necessarily, and Brown was dribbling off his knee every other possession. So if that tough stuff rears its head, then they're in trouble. But again, there's just so much evidence, mounting evidence, that that's just not going to happen.
Championship odds, just by the way, like if you wanted to get a glimpse of all 3 teams before Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. So Celtics -230 to win it, Dallas +240, Timberwolves 15-1.
Yeah.
But no, to your point, like for me, it's the shooting thing. It's just like which is not even. And I don't even mean so much the execution of it. Like, I guess you could say that about any basketball game. It's like, if the shots aren't falling, I'm not going to win. Yeah. But, like, the general organizational philosophy of it, of, like, the most important stat being 3-point attempts. And whether that comes back to bite them when they play a team that, like you said, sort of has that killer instinct that some of these other teams haven't had because of injuries. I kind of equate it to, like, a run-and-gun, high-flying college football team running into an SEC defense or something. And all of a sudden the game just looks completely different. Like in Dallas, slow it down to a level that the Celtics are a little bit uncomfortable. Because the one thing that, like, I guess still scares me a little bit about the Celtics is late-game situations, that offense can get stagnant. There's still those possessions every now and then where it's Tatum clearing out, and he's got the ball in his hands, and you're just like, you see the shot clock winding down, you see the game clock winding down, and you're like, all right, pick it up, pick it up, and it just never really comes, and they get a garbage shot off.
Maybe this isn't a major revelation, but it's funny how all those things are tied, where it's like, some of that's coaching, some of that's just, if the 3 isn't there, or you're in a position where, like, playing for that 3 doesn't make sense, and and then, it just turns into, spider attack on the basketball with one guy, so...
But that's it.
Yeah, hey.
Because otherwise, like, I don't see that really being...
Which are probably over-magnifying
like,
just
this is
to
total,
find something.
Yeah, this is total devil's advocate. Because I don't think these are really going to be problems. It's just... But that's how good they are, right?
Yeah.
Like, you gotta search through. It's like, go, where's Waldo? Like, I don't really know where the flaw is. But that would be what I would point to. So, yeah, I think this... I think they win it in, like, 5.
We are simpatico. I was just about to ask you what your, it's like when you're playing poker back in the day, like blind all in. What's your blind NBA Finals pick? So Celtics in 5.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, maybe 6. I don't even see it going 6.
I'd be even inclined to say sweep.
Like, honestly, I think I think that's very much on the table.
I do think this is not something I've really researched, but it does seem like, and I've read and heard that Dallas's defense has gotten a lot better since the trade deadline. So they've made some really valuable additions, and maybe that makes a difference. And that's their only chance, is that they muck it up long enough to let Kyrie and Luka just go nuts at the end of the game. And I just don't think they can do that for a 7-game series.
I think Lucas might steal you one, just based on how good he is. But I think you even saw in Game 4 of this Western Conference Finals that, they put a bigger guy on Kyrie, and he looked a little out of sorts. Yeah. And that's where, like, the Celtics' defensive versatility comes in. Like, you can stick, anybody you want.
Yeah.
Like, they can hang with anybody on the defensive end. So I just think that it's going to be much more difficult for Dallas to get theirs offensively against the Celtics defense.
Yeah. We've very much overplayed our hand for next week, so we're gonna have to find something else.
Yeah, you're right.
Go listen to Nesson's "Hold My Banner" podcast as well. Travis and Nate, they
A lot smarter.
yeah,
They
they get paid to kind of really break this down. I was actually kind of pulling that up just to make sure that they had the right name, the right YouTube channel, and everything. And like they did something in earlier in the series or early in the playoffs about Tyler Hero or Where's Waldo, because Tyler Hero or something.
Really?
So yeah, just bringing everything together. I think that's
it's
called,
like just learning through osmosis.
corporate synergy there. So
But real quick, like just to tie everything together, like bigger picture standpoint, talking about what this title means or whatever. Like I guess this is where I say, like, 10 years from now, you're not going to remember how easy this path to the finals was and everything. I think you'll remember it next year, though. Like, if they win this year, the conversation throughout next year is going to be like, well, now they got to do it against an actual legitimate competitive field. And then they're going to have to do that all over again. So, yeah, it's not like all of a sudden they answer one question this year and the debate's over. Although I do think, like, you win this year, you start talking about, like, Tatum's number being retired. And,
and I think
stuff like that.
They're almost certainly going to be better than anybody else still next year. But the teams will be better. It'll be more difficult. But like, looking ahead, like the Bucks are going to be a little healthier. The Sixers could get LeBron for, who knows what they do. Well, and then the Knicks are liable. So theoretically, there's more roadblocks or speed bumps, but we would have said the same thing last year. So who knows?
The other thing, though, it's like they're in such a good place on their own right now that, I mean, you can't guarantee that they'll be the same next year. Like, the way guys have gotten hurt. Like, who's to say Tatum won't stay healthy next year? Or who's to say that Jaylen Brown won't request a trade in 2 years? That's the other thing. It's like the way rosters.
Well, eventually the money comes due too, where it's like you got to pay Tatum, you got to pay Brown. It's like, can you afford Derek White? Who's gonna? I don't know.
Yeah,
that's again tomorrow problems.
It is. 2025 NBA Finals odds, though, in case you are curious. DraftKings has them.
Yep.
Celtics favorites at plus 350. The next on the board is the Nuggets plus 700. Thunder 8-1. Timberwolves and the Bucks and the Mavericks all plus 850. Long story short, Celtics still heavy favorites for next season as well. So the championship window wide open.
Yeah, I'm not betting any of those. The point is correct. You are correct. All right, let's get into something else. Summer's here. Time for an MLB reset.
Talk Olympics again?
Yeah, no. You're the baseball guy. Tell me about what's going on in the baseball world this year.
What do you want to talk about?
I don't know.
What stands out? Well, so, like, all right.
What are your big takeaways from the first third of the season?
Now baseball season's starting. Like,
It's starting in April.
Well, this is starting now.
Oh, okay.
No, this is Memorial Day. Once you get to Memorial Day, then you can start.
It's like Thanksgiving in the NHL.
If you want to start looking at standings, it's still a little early, but I'll give it to you now. That's the thing. Like, my dad does that. Is he like, it'll be 2 weeks into the season, and he'll be like, hey, Red Sox are only 2.5 back. I'm like, guy, they've played 15 games. Like, what are you talking about?
Okay, so you can do it now.
Now I think it's okay now. Okay. You can start peeking under the.
I was gonna say
peeking under the blanket.
People might push back. Never mind. That's something for another day.
I don't know though. It's like been you know what I'm kind of looking forward to is the Yankees.
Yeah.
What are they now?
Yeah.
They're
quietly good.
Yeah.
Are they quietly good? I don't even
think it's that quiet.
Okay.
I think they're just good.
I mean, they are they're like 20 games over 500. They have a run differential that it's the best in the American League. Might be the best in baseball.
Yep.
Yeah. They are doing it without Garrett Cole.
Yeah. But I just think that
it's pretty good. It's good.
Like, the key players involved, like Juan Soto, fits like a glove. That is just it feels very Yankees like. Like, there's a element of obnoxiousness to him.
Yeah.
Obnoxiousness
and inevitability.
Yeah.
Like, they're like, here are the Yankees. Yeah.
To that point, if you do want to check out some AL MVP odds,
I would love to.
Juan Soto favorite at plus 260, Aaron Judge plus 330 right behind him.
Jesus Christ. That's so, like, you take for granted how good that's one too. Like, at the top of their roster, you have the two best players in the league right now.
Yeah. So, and then you get down the board, Bobby Witt Jr., 4-1, Gunnar Henderson, plus 550, Kyle Tucker, 6-1. Then you drop off a little bit and you get the Jose Ramirez, 20-1, Corey Seager, 35-1.
Jose Ramirez better than Barry Bonds.
Yeah.
According to him, I think that's what he said.
Something along those lines. He's always a guy when I look at MVP odds before the season, though, that catches my eye. Because
no, he's not. What does he do? He's almost too good, if that makes sense.
Well, so he's always going to be up in there, like, from MVP voting.
He's one of those guys, though, where he's got a great WAR, and I'm like, how exactly? That's a me problem more than anything, because it's like this guy doesn't hit 50 home runs, so
finished top 6 5 times.
No, I'm not disagreeing that he's a good baseball player. It's just
I get your point, but the way I look at it too, I'm like, I always feel like the Guardians,
some of his parts,
we talked about this before we came on, better than people expect. And it's like, well, somebody's got to be the face of that, right?
Yeah.
So and then, like, you get some other people in a down year, and maybe he sneaks his way in. So
that's fine.
I don't know if I'm looking at like a value pick, maybe there. But yeah, I don't know. What is anything stood out to you? You don't watch baseball anymore. You just watch. You just said you use golf.
Yeah, I mean, what do these guys think about golf? The things that have stood out to me, I think. What the Orioles have been able to do, not to be way too East Coast centric, but like they're 15 games over 500. It feels like they started a little bit slow. They're getting healthy, especially with their pitching staff. The Jackson Holiday thing was a bit of a mess.
Yeah,
but like they are still, again, 15 games over 500. Like I think there's something to be said for having very high expectations and basically meeting them, which I think is what they've done. Ideally, like in this very utopian thing, I want them to be good. I want the Royals to be good. I want this thing where it's like these teams, young players going back and forth. It feels like we're getting those, but I just don't know if that's the best thing for the sport in the long run, because I don't know how much staying power those franchises have with their ability or inability to retain players. Yeah. Although I guess the fact that they keep giving out contract extensions is encouraging. So I look at the Orioles and I say that's a team I think is good. And also the Phillies continue to, I mean, no kidding. Like, hey, what stood out for you? The team that was 25 games over 500 a week ago has been a pleasant surprise, for lack of a better term. But I do think like they are doing this thing in like a super professional way, and it's very much working. And it's like they feel more so than any other team in the league or in either league is like. They're just waiting for the playoffs. Like that's a weird feeling for them, where I just think they need to get back and try to go mess stuff up again.
I guess when you tie this all together, that's why it gives me hope that this might end up being a relatively entertaining baseball season, or especially when we get to October.
Yes,
and we start to feel the energy a bit, because like looking ahead, if you get a Yankees Orioles ALCS with sort of the contrast of the Yankees veteran star power. Garrett Cole's back. He's pitching against just that lineup in Baltimore with all their young players. Like, I could sink my teeth into that. And then on the other side, it's like the Phillies, as good as they've been, always an entertaining team in October. You get Ohtani on the big stage finally, who's just been he's in a little bit of a slump now, but for the most part, mashing this year. Mookie's been amazing.
Yeah.
So it's just there's a lot there. The one thing, and I guess we've kind of buried the lead a little bit, is just the sheer volume of pitcher injuries is like that's what's killing the vibe for me.
Got to fix it. No, and I think there's that story that came out. We didn't really talk about this, and maybe there's a betting angle as the summer goes on to kind of dig into where it's. We'll get somebody who's smarter than us to like. I think if I were to bet like out totals or something like that, or even sides or total or run totals, like. I'm still stuck in 2014. You know what I mean?
I'm the same way.
Where it's like, this guy's good. He's going to go 8 innings, and it's going to be great. So that's between the injuries and just like how that usage has evolved, it feels like a slightly different sport. I don't think that's a great thing, because I know you and I have had this conversation either on air or off air. It's like I tune in for starting pitching. That's probably why I haven't watched a ton of baseball this year. it's a lot easier to get me to like. I've watched more Pirates games than a lot of other teams because I've watched most of Skeens' starts.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what the answer is, and I know that they're trying to look into it. Good luck. I don't know what.
Yeah.
There was that
fear,
story
right?
in The Athletic where it's like, here's 12 ideas. I thought they all sucked, not for lack of ingenuity, but like, good luck getting the union to sign, or I guess if maybe don't, but like, it's going to cause more harm than good. So I don't have a great answer.
Yeah, it's like every good young pitcher now, you're just holding your breath. Like, how long can this last before an issue comes
Skeens
up?
is
like,
a perfect example
like
of that too. Where
Skeens,
it's like
Spencer Strider, like the dominance that the run he was on, and then all of a sudden there's just the ominous verbiage that comes with like a pitcher walking off the mound, and you're like, oh, he's going to get the MRI after to check it. It's just things start piling up, and you can sort of read between the lines. Like, this isn't going to be good.
even here with the Garrett Whitlock thing, where it's just like teams almost, if there's even the slightest bit of concern, it's like we might as well just go do this now because what are the chances we're going to get good returns? I guess the Pavetta of it all kind of speaks that a little bit differently, but yeah, I'd like them to figure that out. I don't think that's going in the direction we want it to go though anytime soon.
No,
because that's a major game changer.
Just World Series odds real quick for those interested, and also doing a little catching up on the MLB circuit. Dodgers still heavy favorites. This is at FanDuel Sportsbook.
Dodgers bore me.
Plus 260. The Yankees plus 500. Phillies plus 650. The Braves are plus 800. Obviously, they've been dealt a very bad hand with, I just mentioned, Strider losing Ronald Acuna Jr. So tough sledding there. Orioles 10-1. Astros 16-1, which is, given their place in the standings, pretty wild because they've been bad for most of the year.
I just thought the Acuna thing the other day was I saw his tweet and I didn't realize he was hurt. I thought it was like I thought it was algorithm based or something. I was like, no way, he didn't get hurt again. Like, he did.
That sucks.
That's tough.
He's
not to laugh.
Very
at his
fun
injury,
to watch.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
We got to go pretty quick. Good news. Well, is that mean? Probably kind of mean. Angel Hernandez retired. I think that's pouring out for Angel Hernandez. I don't think most people retire in the middle of a season. Usually when these things are made out to be the leaving party's choice, that is not the case.
Yep.
Especially when it's abrupt like this. Are you going to shed any tears for the loss of Angel Hernandez?
Yeah, kinda. I don't, I like having call me crazy. I like having villains and people that we can all agree that guy sucks.
He was a total. Well, I don't like. Can I say
enemies on social media.
I'm about to call him a name, and it's like I'm afraid of this guy suing me on this pod that I was listening to. I generally agree with you, and that's kind of a bigger picture point that we'll get to as we on our way out. But I thought he was actually bad at his job and carried himself like somebody who was good at his job. And I think that's a lot different than the Joe West experience, where Joe West is largely viewed as a good umpire, if not great, who is just a character himself. So theoretically, I agree with the idea knowing umpires' names as much as we say, well, they're not here to watch those guys. It does kind of add a little bit of flair to it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just he was actually bad. He was actually bad.
No, but I guess
it got worse.
I will not miss his performance level. I think that you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is a problem.
Yeah.
But the idea of having these side characters is kind of what umpires are. It's years ago, I knew a lot more umpires than I do now. Yeah. And I don't know. I thought that was cool.
Lance Barksdale. You can sit here and name umpires for.
So.
Bet Online has odds for Angel Hernandez's next job. I can run through these real quick. If you can stop me if anything catches your eye.
All right.
Catches your eye. Eyes. MLB TV analyst plus 5-1. MLB announcer.
It would be pretty cool though if he was the Gene Steratore of
or
Dean Blandino, and they're calling an Angel Hernandez who's just giving wildly off takes. That'd be a pretty good stick.
Or he just talks smack about everybody. He's like, yeah, I don't care. MLB announcer, not sure how that's different. 8-1. Cuban diplomat, 10-1. Optometrist, 12-1. Get it? Eye doctor because he can see.
Yeah, LASIK had a little dig at him.
Yeah, weather forecaster, 16-1. Anger management, 16-1. Photographer, 16-1. Lifeguard, 20-1. Braille instructor, 20-1. Astrologer, 25. Circus clown, 33. Is he going to release a duet with Stevie Wonder? That's 150-1. Andrea Bocelli, 150-1. Johnny Depp, 150-1. There's probably a joke with the Johnny Depp one that I don't totally understand.
I don't know. I like photography.
Eye patch?
I think him and Randy Johnson could be a nice little tandem on the photography circuit.
I think we got to go. I'm anti-robo-umps. I know I'm probably contradicting myself a little bit there.
I like the cat.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you. Like, the more just the more craziness you can get in a Major League Baseball game, the better. Like, I like unwritten rules because it leads to stuff that changes it up every once in a while. I like bad umpires for the most part because it leads to some ejections and things like that. If you take all that away, there is a little bit of the human nature makes it emotes emotions from other humans, and that's important.
That league more than any has the potential to become very monotonous just by virtue of being as long as it is. So you need that sort of weird component.
We've already hacked everything else in the sport, so let's not get to that. So
it also too, it's like when you robot umps with a sport that prides itself on so many unwritten rules. Like, pick a lane.
I agree. Lean into it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
All right, have a good summer, Ricky. We'll be back next week. To talk probably about golf, the weather, and maybe a little bit NBA Finals. That's Ricky. I'm Mike. This is Spread. Thanks for joining us. See you again next week. Goodbye.